What if I told you that beneath the stillness of meditation, something is happening, not just spiritually, but biologically? In the silent chambers of your mind, entire neural pathways are being rewritten. Ancient centers of fear and reaction begin to go silent, while higher realms of awareness whisper awake. This is not just inner peace, it's inner transformation. Now, imagine a ritual performed in the caves of the Himalayas, where monks sit unmoving for hours, sometimes days, with only the breath as their companion. To the untrained eye, it may seem passive, but beneath that serene exterior, a storm of internal alchemy unfolds. Blood flow redirects. The nervous system recalibrates. The mind begins to perceive beyond the veil of everyday thought. Science might call it neuroplasticity. The mystics might call it awakening. But the truth lies in the space where both meet. You see, meditation is not just a technique. It is a technology, an ancient organic instrument capable of unlocking dormant potentials within the human brain. It can reshape how you process fear, pleasure, time, and even the very nature of your identity. In fact, consistent meditation doesn't just make you feel different. It begins to physically change the architecture of your brain. In this video, we're going to uncover what meditation truly does beneath the surface, to the lens of both esoteric wisdom and modern neuroscience. We'll explore how ancient traditions described states of consciousness long before science could measure them, and how modern imaging is finally catching up to what mystics knew millennia ago. We'll journey through the philosophical roots of meditation, then dive deep into what actually happens to your brain, from the prefrontal cortex to the amygdala. And finally, you'll learn how to tap into this transformative power yourself, with practical tools drawn from both ancient and modern sources. This isn't about stress relief or relaxation. This is about unlocking the hidden architecture of consciousness, the kind of change that rewires not only your thoughts, but your very being. Ready to begin? Long before meditation was packaged into apps and recommended by therapists, it was a sacred rite, a secret art whispered in caves, inscribed in ancient sutras, and transmitted from master to disciple under starlit skies. To understand what meditation does to the brain, we must first ask, what did it mean before the brain was even part of the conversation? Let's journey back thousands of years to the banks of the Ganges, where sages sat cross-legged beneath banyan trees, eyes closed, breath still. These weren't passive dreamers. They were consciousness engineers. The yogis of ancient India believed the mind was a wild monkey, constantly swinging from thought to thought. Meditation, they taught, was the means of taming that monkey, not by force, but by presence. In the Upanishads, among the oldest spiritual texts on earth, meditation is described not as an escape, but as a portal, a doorway into the self beyond the self. The term dhyana meditation is not merely about focusing the mind. It's about dissolving the boundaries of identity. In dhyana, the observer and the observed merge, and the illusion of separation falls away. Across the ocean, in ancient China, Taoist mystics spoke of Wang, sitting and forgetting. This wasn't forgetting in the sense of losing memory, but of dissolving the ego, the stories, the noise of thought, until only the Tao, the way, remained. Meditation was not something they did. It was something they returned to. In Tibet, meditation evolved into intricate inner visualizations and energy channeling practices. Practitioners would sit for years in remote caves, visualizing deities, manipulating inner heat, and unlocking states of consciousness, so profound they could alter heartbeat, body temperature, and even perceive time. These weren't myths. Modern studies on advanced meditators from this tradition have shown physiological changes that science still struggles to explain. Meanwhile, in the Christian desert traditions, mystics like the Desert Fathers practice hesychasm, a form of silent, wordless prayer where the mind becomes still and the heart opens to divine light. Their goal wasn't relaxation. It was theosis, becoming one with God. Even the ancient Greeks touched on the meditative state. Plotinus, a Neoplatonist philosopher, spoke of withdrawing from the sensory world to reach the One, the source of all being. His descriptions echo the inner silence described by Eastern sages. Across cultures and centuries, a pattern emerges. Meditation was never about feeling good. It was about remembering who we truly are, a return to source, a rewiring of the inner world to reflect a higher order. What's astonishing is that these ancient mystics, without MRI machines or neuroscience degrees, described mental and spiritual phenomena that mirror what we're only beginning to map in the modern brain. The dissolution of ego, the emergence of compassion, the clarity of present awareness. These were once metaphysical revelations. Now, they're becoming measurable patterns of neural change. And this brings us to the present moment, where ancient inner science meets modern outer science, where we can ask not only what meditation feels like, but what it does deep within a labyrinth of neurons, synapses, and electrochemical storms that shape our every perception. Next, we'll explore what happens when you close your eyes, slow your breath, and enter that sacred stillness through the lens of the brain itself. Close your eyes for just a moment. Breathe and hold. Exhale slowly. What seems like stillness on the outside is, in truth, an electrical revolution within. Let us begin with the amygdala, the ancient sentinel of your brain. This small, almond-shaped structure governs your fight-or-flight response, forever scanning for danger, real or imagined. In our fast-paced world, it often misfires. A rude email, a traffic jam, a lingering regret. Any of these can activate the amygdala, flooding the body with stress hormones, clouding your thoughts, tightening your chest. But here's the secret the mystics discovered in silence, and that modern science is now confirming. When you meditate consistently, the amygdala begins to shrink, not metaphorically, physically. Its neural density decreases. Its hold over your emotional life loosens. The signal it sends weakens, and in its place, a new network begins to rise. Enter the prefrontal cortex, the seat of higher thinking. This is a realm of self-awareness, decision-making, empathy, and long-term perspective. While the amygdala is impulsive and ancient, the prefrontal cortex is the wise elder, the philosopher within. And meditation? It strengthens this part like a muscle. Repeated sessions of focused attention on the breath, a mantra, or simply presence light up this area and increase the thickness of the cortical walls. Your mind, quite literally, becomes more resilient. It's like rewiring the architecture of a cathedral from the inside out. Every time you return to breath instead of reacting to thought, every time you observe emotion without being consumed by it, you're not just gaining insight, you're laying down new neural pathways. Think of it like forging trails through a dense forest. At first, the way is unclear, overgrown, but with each session, the path becomes more defined, easier to walk. Neurons that fire together wire together, and meditation is a sculptor's chisel. Then there's a default mode network, or DMN, a system of interconnected brain regions responsible for mind wandering, daydreaming, and the constant narration of the self. This is the voice that says, I am not good enough, or I should have done better, or what will they think of me? It's not inherently bad. It gives us our sense of continuity and identity. But left unchecked, it becomes a tyrant, pulling us out of the present moment and into the gravitational whirlpool of ego. Meditation quiets the demon. Studies using fMRI scans have shown that even after just a few weeks of consistent meditation, activity in the default mode network decreases. The endless loop of self-referential thought slows. The space between thoughts grows wider. And in that space, you begin to hear something else. A silence that's not empty, but alive. From a spiritual perspective, this is a clearing of the inner temple, the broom sweeping the dusty corridors of the mind. from a neurological one. It's the deactivation of compulsive narrative and the awakening of conscious awareness. Another key transformation happens in the hippocampus, the brain's memory and learning center. Chronic stress causes it to shrink, impairing cognitive function. But meditation increases gray matter density here, too. It's as if your brain begins to regenerate under the light of awareness. Even the insula, a lesser-known region involved in bodily awareness and empathy, becomes more active and connected. This is why meditators often report a heightened sense of presence, not just mentally, but physically. You feel your breath, your heart, the subtle flow of energy moving through your being. And it's not only about silence. Different meditation styles activate different systems. Focused attention strengthens concentration. Loving kindness meditation lights up regions associated with compassion and connection. Transcendental techniques may shift brainwave states, bringing about deep physiological rest. Each is a key, opening a different chamber of the brain's inner palace. So, while the world sees a person sitting quietly on a cushion, what's actually happening is far more profound. The brain is reorganizing itself around stillness, recalibrating toward clarity, turning down the noise, and tuning into something timeless. And this is only half of the story, because beyond structure and function lies something stranger and far more mysterious. Imagine peeling back the layers of your brain like an onion, not to find something hollow at the center, but to uncover a light that was always there, simply obscured by thought. We've spoken of neural architecture, of the amygdala's decline and the prefrontal cortex's rise. But now we move deeper, beyond the circuitry, into the mystery that cannot be dissected by scalpels or scanned by machines. Because at a certain point, meditation begins to affect not just what you think or how you think, but who you believe yourself to be. Let's talk about ego dissolution. In advanced states of meditation, particularly during practices involving deep absorption or samadhi, something strange happens. The sense of being a separate self begins to dissolve. The boundaries between you and the world grow thinner until, in moments of profound stillness, they disappear entirely. This isn't metaphor. It's measurable. Brain scans of experienced meditators, particularly those trained in Dzogchen, Vipassana, or psychedelic-assisted meditation, show significant disruption in the posterior cingulate cortex, a central hub in the default mode network linked to self-referential processing. In simpler terms, when the I begins to vanish, this region goes quiet. And what takes its place? Not absence, but presence, a radiant, boundless awareness that mystics across all traditions have described with eerily similar language. In the Vedic tradition, it's Atman, the self beyond self. In Buddhism, it's Sunyata, the vast, luminous emptiness. Christian mystics call it the divine light. Sufis speak of annihilation in the beloved, different names, same threshold. What's truly astonishing is that these inner experiences, once relegated to the realms of mysticism and poetry, are now being echoed in neurophenomenology, a field that blends subjective consciousness with measurable brain data. It suggests that consciousness itself may not be produced by the brain, but rather filtered through it. And meditation? It loosens the filter. Some scientists now refer to brain as a reducing valve, a concept originally proposed by Aldous Huxley and inspired by the philosopher Henri Bergson. In this model, our waking consciousness is a trickle of the total reality. Meditation, like psychedelics or near-death experiences, opens a valve. We begin to perceive more what is not just what our survival-focused mind allows. Consider the experience of timelessness. In deep meditative absorption, time often disappears. Minutes stretch into eternities. The linear structure collapses. Why? Because the brain's parietal lobes, responsible for mapping spatial and temporal awareness, become less active. The result is a suspension of the usual metrics by which we navigate the world. You are no longer in time. You are being pure and unmeasured. There's also the shift in brainwave states. Most of us operate in beta, the fast, logical, problem-solving state. But as meditation deepens, we descend through alpha, relaxed alertness, into theta, deep meditation, dreamlike imagery, and occasionally into delta, the realm of the unconscious, often reach in sleep and in moments of profound spiritual stillness. Some seasoned meditators can even reach gamma waves, rapid oscillations associated with heightened perception, compassion, and unity consciousness. Tibetan monks trained in decades of meditation show these patterns consistently, suggesting their brains have been physically tuned to resonant states most of us only glimpse during moments of awe, ecstasy, or revelation. And here lies the ultimate paradox. Meditation is not about becoming anything. It's about undoing the noise, the illusion of separation, the reflexive habits of thought and fear. It is a return, not to an earlier version of yourself, but to the spacious awareness that has always been watching silently beneath every moment of your life. As this inner light grows stronger, something else shifts. You begin to respond instead of react. You notice the patterns of your mind without being enslaved by them. You become more you and less of the noise pretending to be you. That's not just brain chemistry. That's awakening, and is available to anyone who's willing to sit, breathe, and listen. So, how do we move from theory to transformation, from poetic mysticism and neuromechanics to a lived experience that reshapes your perception, your presence, your life? It begins with something deceptively simple, a seat, a breath, and a willingness to be with what is. You don't need a cave in the Himalayas. You don't need to shave your head or chant in Sanskrit. You need consistency, intention, and the courage to turn inward without flinching. Let's begin with a foundational practice. 1. The still point method, 10 to 20 minutes daily. Sit upright, spine straight but not rigid. Let the body be alert but soft. Close your eyes. Focus your attention on the breath, not the idea of the breath, the felt sensation of air moving in and out. When thoughts arise, notice them like clouds passing in the sky. No judgment, no pushing. Just return again and again to the breath. This is not failure. This is the training. Over time, you'll notice that the space between thoughts begins to widen. Your reactivity softens. You'll become the observer, not the storm. 2. Body as temple, somatic awareness. Before or after seated meditation, take 2 to 3 minutes to scan your body. Start from the crown of the head. Slowly bring awareness down to the face, throat, chest, stomach, legs, all the way to the soles of your feet. Notice sensations, tension, warmth, tingling. This builds activity in the insula, deepening bodily awareness and grounding you in the present moment. As the sages once said, the body is not the obstacle to enlightenment. It is the doorway. 3. Loving kindness metta practice. This one rewires the emotional brain. Visualize someone you love. Silently repeat, may you be happy. May you be safe. May you be free. Then move to someone neutral. Then, this is the key, someone you struggle with. Offer them the same phrases. This strengthens neural circuits linked to empathy, compassion, and emotional regulation. Over time, your heart becomes less guarded. You move through the world with more warmth and less armor. 4. Consistency over intensity. Don't aim for mystical fireworks. Aim for the ritual. 5 minutes a day, every day, will take you further than 1 hour once a week. The brain changes through repetition, not intensity. You are laying tracks, new groove for awareness to travel. 5. Overcoming the shadows. You will face resistance, boredom, restlessness, emotional surfacing. This is not a sign of failure. This is the unconscious rising to the surface. the sediment stirred from the riverbed. When that happens, breathe, observe, let it come, let it pass, let it teach you, and most importantly, do not seek perfection. Seek presence. Even 5 conscious breaths, taken in the middle of a chaotic day, can shift your entire nervous system. Your brain doesn't need you to be a monk. It needs you to be awake. In time, meditation becomes more than a practice. It becomes a way of moving through the world. You begin to respond, not react. You begin to witness your thoughts, not obey them. And the brain follows suit, adapting, healing, and restructuring itself around this new center of stillness. So begin today, not tomorrow. Light the candle. Close your eyes, not to escape the world, but to meet it more fully than ever before. So now, let's return to the question we began with. What does meditation really do to your brain? It rewires it. It cleanses it. It awakens it, not in the superficial sense of feeling calmer, though that too will come, but in the profound sense of realigning the entire architecture of your awareness. The amygdala, once a tyrant of fear, becomes quiet. The prefrontal cortex, the throne of wisdom, gains strength. The default mode network, home of the wandering ego, slows its relentless narration. In its place, a deeper stillness, a greater clarity. But beyond the biology, beyond the brain waves and cortical thickening, meditation does something far more sacred. It returns you to yourself, not the self made of memories and labels, but the self that watches in silence, the one who was there before the thoughts began, the one who exists outside of time, outside of fear, outside of the story. And this, ultimately, is what all the ancient traditions were pointing to, from the Upanishads to the Tao Te Ching, from Tibetan caves to Christian cloisters. Meditation has always been the key to a door that was never locked, only forgotten. So if you take one thing from this journey, let it be this. Meditation is not about escaping the mind. It is about transforming it from a tangled knot of noise into a vessel for light. Your brain is not your enemy. It is your temple. And every breath you take in stillness is a stone laid in the rebuilding of that sacred place. Begin simply. Begin gently. But begin. Close your eyes. Breathe in. And return, not to an idea, but to the infinite presence that is watching you read these words right now. If you found this journey valuable, share it with someone who may need to remember the silence within. And if you'd like to go deeper, let us know in the comments what aspect of meditation you'd like us to explore next. Until then, stay awake, stay still, and walk gently between worlds.